Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. And today, I want to talk about these G-Shock squares, but most specifically, this watch right here. This is the GW-B5600CD-9. So this is the yellow version from a set of 3 watches. And these 3 watches all have the same functions and features, all except for the colors. They are part of the Charles Darwin collection of G-Shock squares in collaboration with the Charles Darwin Foundation. So this one has kind of a shark theme. This one has the tortoise theme, and this one's kind of a finch theme, all in honor of Charles Darwin and the Charles Darwin Foundation. Now, Charles Darwin, in case you didn't know, was a famous scientist, British scientist, who died in 1882. And the first G-Shock square was available in 1983, and it looked a lot like this one. But so that's 101 years from the death of Charles Darwin until the introduction of the G-Shock, and that makes it 141 years from Charles Darwin's time until these watches came out. So you might be thinking, what's the connection? What is the missing link that I'm not figuring out here? Well, it's the fact that the Charles Darwin Foundation wanted to collaborate in making these watches. So Charles Darwin Foundation started in 1959, and they're all about preserving the Galapagos Island area and protecting it from, whatever changes might be going on in the planet that might threaten, the pristine, beautiful nature conditions that Charles Darwin observed there. So no doubt if Charles Darwin had lived long enough, he would have loved to have a G-Shock watch. And, for me, it's just another variety of the G-Shock square. So that's great for me. Of course, as we know, the first G-Shock looked an awful lot like this. I don't have one of those original first G-Shocks, but if you look at the evolution of G-Shocks from 1983 until today, now a little more than 40 years later, you'll find tons and tons. Look at shockbase.org and you'll find just all kinds of diversity, all kinds of varieties of different G-Shock watches that have been available in the last 40 years, all from one common ancestor of this one here. Now, the pinnacle of G-Shock evolution as far as the G-Shock square goes would be these guys right here. They have all the features that I like. Some people would say they're missing just one or two things. Like, for example, these are LCD screens on here, the displays. They're not the STN display, which you would find in one of these metal G-Shocks here, and that might be a little bit better on contrast. But apart from the STN display, and apart from the fact that there's no battery meter right here on the on the home screen there, I think these things check all the boxes, as they say, and these are the kind of G-Shocks I want. Now, I'm showing these off together because I know there are other people that have made videos on YouTube talking about the Charles Darwin collection of watches, but I don't know that anyone has all 3 of them. So I thought, if that's my bragging rights among all the people that are making these videos, yes, I bought all 3 of them. And there they are, so I can have them both. As you can see, this one has a little bit of a blue tint on the LCD. This one a little more green, a little more pronounced on the green, and this yellow one is more of just a basic, no real color scheme there on the LCD. But it does have that tortoise stuff going on. So right there on the keeper, you see there's that little cutout in the shape of a tortoise. Also right here on the face, there's that little tortoise emblem right there. And if you look at the backlight, you'll also see just the basic shadow of a tortoise shows up on the backlight when you push that button for the backlight on there. Otherwise, this has, again, all the stuff I like about your G-Shock squares today. The most highly evolved of these G-Shocks. Tough solar, meaning there's a solar cell built into the face of the watch. So it'll charge itself. You don't have to change the battery. Maybe you would after decades. That rechargeable battery might wear out. But for the most part, I would say just don't worry about it. As long as you expose this watch to normal lighting conditions, everyday lighting, just whatever you do. Don't, if you wear it with long sleeves and it's all covered up, then obviously it's not going to charge itself. But if you wear it normally, in normal lighting conditions, on a regular basis, you'll find that it has plenty of power from that solar cell to keep this going almost indefinitely. My oldest solar powered, tough solar G-Shock watch is now, I've had it for 17 years this year. And I haven't opened it up for any reason to do any maintenance or services or change the battery. It's still running on the original battery after 17 years. So I'm expecting similar performance from this in the long run. Also, you'll see right there above my fingers is Bluetooth, that because this has a Bluetooth Bluetooth circuitry built in. So it can interact with an app on your smartphone or tablet. It's the Casio Watches app. And using that app, you can set some of the functions on here, like set the alarms and set the duration of the countdown timer and do some other things, including you can have it set the time based on its connection to that Bluetooth app. So if you're in an area of the world where Multiband 6 doesn't work, or you're just anywhere where anywhere your phone works and can synchronize the time, that'll give you an easy way to keep this thing accurate right down to the second. Oh, did I mention Multiband 6? That's another way that this can set itself. Multiband 6 means there's a radio receiver built into this watch. And with that radio receiver, it can receive atomic time information from any of 6 transmitters in different parts of the world. So there's one in China, there are 2 in Japan, one in the UK and one in Germany, and then, of course, WWVB here in North America. So basically what this does is starting at midnight, it will turn on that receiver and try to receive that atomic time information. And if it's not successful within a few minutes, it'll try again 1 hour later, and then 1 hour after that, and up to about 6 times. The first time it is successful, it won't try again until the next night, starting at midnight. So it's one of my favorite features in all my Casio watches and some of the clocks I have, that they set themselves to the right time, right down to the second automatically, and that's great. Even changing for daylight saving time automatically. But like I said, if you're in a part of the world where those multi-band 6 transmitters just aren't being received by this watch, the Bluetooth connection can do the same job and keep that watch perfectly synchronized to the right time, date, day of the week, all that stuff that you see here. I should also mention something that makes this kind of a nice prize among G-Shock collectors is that it harkens back to the first really colorful G-Shock square, I believe, was 1990. If you look it up on shockbase.org, yeah, there was a G-Shock square introduced with the yellow bezel and the yellow band. Not exactly like this, of course, but pretty similar. And so that's why a lot of people think, well, I can't go back and get that rare watch from 1990 when the yellow one came out, but I can get a brand new one right now, like this, with the yellow, and so kind of a throwback to that 1990 watch. I should mention, though, and this is looking a little strange on camera, that the yellow just is kind of blowing out the camera sensor here, so you don't maybe see all the detail. This finish, I'm going to compare this to another yellow watch I recently bought, and even on camera you can tell it's a little bit different shade of yellow. This one here almost looks a little more translucent than this one here. The other thing about this one is that if you feel that, it's kind of a soft coating, almost like it's got a little bit of a powder on it. And I don't feel that quite so much with the black versions, a little bit. So yeah, just a very unique feel on that. It's very comfortable. It's very reminiscent of all the other G-Shock squares, but just a little bit of a powder feel, kind of that matte finish. And I wonder if over time, just rubbing against clothing and just being, the kind of watch you use all the time, maybe it'll start to turn shiny in certain places, but I won't worry about that for now. It's just a nice, unique finish there, a little bit different color scheme than what you're used to, maybe if you've got other, Casios and G-Shocks with yellow on them. So just something to keep in mind. Typically, I'm not a big fan of unboxing videos. I don't think there's much point to showing you the box, especially after you start using the watch. Are you really going to ever even look at the box? You're going to throw the box away. But I thought I should acknowledge that these watches came in unique boxes with the Charles Darwin Foundation logo there, the one with the shark theme, in this blue box with a shark on it, and then the green one with the finch on it, and then this yellow one came in this black box with the tortoise thing on it. And inside of it, it doesn't have, plastic or metal pieces. It even comes with a little bag. I don't know what I'm going to do with this little fabric bag, but the watch was in there, and, kind of this all paper recyclable, I'm sure. So that's one of the fancy little unique things about this collection. And I suppose if you are buying this from someone that's not an authorized dealer, maybe on eBay or whatever, you might be interested in having one of these authentic boxes just to kind of make sure that the watch itself is authentic. And so anyway, something to look for there. Let's quickly run through some of the other functions and features here. This, of course, the main timekeeping screen, and you've got some indications on what it's doing. There's the power save mode for PS. That means power save mode will be activated. And when the power save mode is available with this watch, what it does is after about 10 p.m., if the watch is in the dark and nobody's wearing it, the watch kind of senses that it's being ignored. So what it'll do is it'll shut down the LCD readout there to save power, and that'll last until about 6 in the morning. Or you take it out of the power save, screen sleep mode by pressing any button, or if you shake the watch, it's got kind of a sensor inside there. Or if you expose this to nice bright light, that will bring it out of that sleep mode again. Otherwise, it could stay in that sleep mode indefinitely if it's not being used and it's left in the dark. But typically, that only happens after 10 p.m. And I usually leave it like that. That's fine. Some people, especially maybe you work the graveyard shift or something like that, you don't want this to go blank overnight. You would just deactivate power save. LT means there's an automatic light sensor, so that, if you're kind of tilting this up towards you, like a wrist action like this, as you do that, and you're doing that with this watch, it senses that motion. And when that happens, it'll activate the backlight automatically if you've got that enabled. RCVD means that it has recently received the correct time information to set itself. Of course, here you've got the day of the week abbreviated in English, and there's the month and date. Here it's showing that daylight saving time is currently being displayed for our time zone, and there's hours, minutes, and seconds. It can be an AM and PM mode or the 24-hour mode. That right there is an indication that the hourly chime is set to go, and that little thing that looks like a musical note with a line through it shows that I've muted some of the beeping for when you go do different modes on this watch. It doesn't beep as often as it would if it wasn't in that mute mode. Okay, let's go to the next mode. Oh, and I'm sorry. You're probably somebody out there is probably upset that my fingers look dirty. Have you ever worked on the brakes on your car or your wife's car or my wife's car? Yeah, sometimes when you work on brakes, you use your brake cleaner, you use all kinds of things, and sometimes some of that dirt just doesn't want to get out of your fingers. So I'm sorry about that. It looks messy. Give it a few more days, it'll probably look normal again. But I didn't want to wait to make this video until my hands looked, I got that brake part cleaner stuff out of my fingers. So, sorry, slight detour there. Let's go to the next mode, and this is your mode button down here. And we see that this is my alarm and signal mode. Right now, it's showing that the signal is on, the hourly signal. It just beeps a couple times to mark the hour, every hour on the hour. And that happens day or night. I can turn that off that way or back on that way. Now, if I go down here, push this button, I see the other alarms. So there's one for 6. I just set, 5 different alarms. The 5th one is a snooze alarm. And that means if I were to activate this like that, okay, let's say snooze is on, then that means that at 8 o'clock, the alarm would go for about 10 seconds, and then it would go again 5 minutes later, and then again 5 minutes after that, and up to half an hour. So that's the snooze function. The other alarms, they just go once every 24 hours if you've got them turned on. You can turn them off. And it's very similar to, the alarms on your other G-Shock watches or just any digital watches. They're very easy, intuitive to set those alarms and update those alarms. Here, now this is the stopwatch. It shows minutes, seconds, and hundredths of a second. I've stopped it right here, right before it reaches the 1 hour mark, because I want to show you what happens if I restart this. What happens when we get to the 1 hour mark on your stopwatch here. Okay, and you'll notice that local time is up there already. So once it gets to 1 hour, everything kind of shifts over, and now it's no longer showing hundredths of a second, but it is showing hours, minutes, and seconds. And that will go all the way up to full 24 hours. If it goes to 24 hours, it'll reset to 0 and then just keep on going until you stop it. And you also have split time with this up here. Where am I? There's split time. Or, I can stop it and reset it. Again, very similar to what you expect on the stopwatch functions on most digital watches. A countdown timer, and this can be hours, minutes, or seconds, all the way up to, if I set this to all zeros, that would be a true 24-hour countdown timer. Otherwise, you can set however many hours, minutes, and seconds you want. Start and stop over there. You can stop it and reset it with these buttons here on the lower right and the upper left. Also, you can set the duration using your Bluetooth app if you want to, and the next time you turn it on or next time you go to this mode, it'll be whatever duration you set within the app. But typically, I find that a lot of times I want to count down things that are half an hour. So on all my watches, I typically have that kind of preset to a half-hour countdown timer. And we're back to the regular mode. Now, if I want to go into the setup, and I can do all these things without the app if I want to, I can hold this adjust button. It prompts me how long to hold it. And this is where I can set my home time zone, Denver in this case, for the mountain time zone. And if I push this button down here, it'll look like I'm going to the right on the map, but actually it'll kind of default back to UTC and then go right on the map, or on here it goes left or westward on the map. I'll take it back to Denver because that's my real time zone for my home time. Next here, do you want daylight saving time to display automatically and change automatically, or do you want it always off, or do you want daylight saving time to be what this displays all the time? That's where you set that up. Here you can manually set the time, seconds, hours, minutes, the year, month, and day of the month. Here you can choose that either 12-hour or 24-hour mode. Here, it's kind of a new feature in the last couple of years that G-Shock has introduced. You have the ability to display month date or date month, depending on what your preference is for your part of the world. And in my part of the world, it's usually month date, so I'll leave it that way. Here's where you can set the language for the day of the week abbreviation. So that can be either English, Spanish, French, German, Italian, Russian, or back to English for me. And that affects, again, just the day of the week abbreviation that you'll see on your main timekeeping screen. This is where you set that beeping to either be mute, or if I set it here, key, means that it will beep almost every time you push the button. It'll beep for changing modes and for just about everything you do. But if it's in mute mode, the only times it's going to actually beep is when one of your alarms is going, or at the end of a countdown timer, or that hourly signal. So that's why I keep it in mute, usually most of the time. The backlight duration can either be 4 seconds or 2 seconds, so you have that option there. If you want to save some battery power, you might put it on a short duration. If you want the automatic receiving for your Multiband 6, your timekeeping, you can have that on or off. Here's where your power save mode can be set to on or off. And now we're back to the beginning. Whew. Now let's look at some of the distinctive features here. It says Tough Solar right there. In Spanish, it says this is supporting the conservation of Galapagos, or Apoyo la conservación de Galapagos. And then on the back of the watch itself, there's a special case back commemorating the Fundación Charles Darwin, and then a whole bunch of stuff on there, the FCC stuff, the Bluetooth, maybe some legal stuff on there. But also here is where it kind of gives you all those specifications you see on the back of a Casio Multiband 6. There's the module right there, 3540, which is the latest, greatest module with Bluetooth on these G-Shock squares. There's the model of the watch. Made in China, all that stuff on there. And then these, or it says receiving, that corresponds to what does this button over here do. The light, it corresponds to that button up there, the adjust and the mode button. So yeah, lots of good stuff on the back there. But you know what? I will very rarely look at the back of that watch. I'm going to wear this watch most of the time in rotation with all my other great watches that I really like to wear. This is what the watch looks like on my wrist, about a 7.5-inch wrist. You see there's not too much extra length on the watch band. I've got about 4 empty holes there that I could use if I want to adjust this. But I don't think my wrist is going to grow all that much. So yeah, that's what that looks like. And it's comfortable, and it's as lightweight as all my other G-Shock squares with resin bands. So very comfortable, very nice. And now that I've made a video about it, maybe I'll use it as my beater watch. It'll get all banged up, but I wanted to show it to you while it was still in pristine condition, right? I wanted to quickly demonstrate the backlight here in automatic mode. Oh, there you go. It's an LED backlight, and it has that little, the tortoise shadow there on the backlight, as opposed to, just to remind you, this one had the finch, that shadow on the backlight, and this other one, the blue tone one, had the shark shadow there on the backlight. But hey, if you're into this yellow one, you got that nice tortoise on the backlight there, and maybe find your best angle. As some people are going to say, well, the tortoise sort of obstructs my view. Well, find your best angle there. And that LED backlight should last a long, 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 long time without getting dim like maybe some other technologies would go. I like the way it sort of fades in and fades out. And, I might just call it a day. I could go into all the details on the app, Casio Watches app, and how to use this with the app. But, I've already done that with these other two. Maybe give me a few days. Maybe I'll make a video just about using the app with these watches. But for now, let's call it a day. And again, I want to bragging rights to the only video you're going to find on YouTube right now, I think, where someone actually bought all three of these, and I think they're all great. They have the positive displays, they have everything I want, and so why not have all three of them? That's what I decided. Well, the only problem with having all three of them is you really can't find a great deal on these right now. Not a lot of great sale prices, but if you want to, direct from Casio and from a lot of other authorized dealers, you pay about $170 each for these. I did save just a few dollars on this one and this one, but I bought this one directly from Casio, and they're fine. I think that's a fair price given the state of the economy and the fact that they have all these great features. I would love it, to get something like this for closer to just $100. But in the long run, maybe I'll skip a few Happy Meals here and there, right? And I won't worry too much about my budget on these guys. I have all three, and I'm bragging about it. And if you want to get one or the other or some other watch that you've come in contact with through my videos, that'd be great. I plan to make more videos, so I hope you will stay tuned. Hey, go back and look at my back catalog of videos, if you will. That would be fun. Or, just wait till my next video coming up soon right here on the Good Timekeeping Show.